He was exhausted from trying and failing, sitting alone at his small desk, staring at a list of goals that felt impossible. Every crossed-out line on the paper sounded like a little voice saying he was not enough, and the room felt smaller every night he stayed there. On the bus ride home, he watched the city lights smear against the window, wondering when life had started to feel like a loop. People came and went, stops passed by, and he asked himself if any of his efforts were ever going to matter. Still, something inside refused to turn off completely. One night, instead of quitting, he wrote a tiny promise on a sticky note, "One small step today." It did not look like much, but when he placed it on the wall, it felt like planting a seed. The next morning, he stepped outside at dawn, tired but strangely lighter, letting the cold air wake him up while the sky slowly turned from blue to gold. Failure showed up again, just as sharp as before, in the form of another rejection. He sat on the concrete step, holding the crumpled paper, and for a moment he wanted to give in. But then he saw an elderly person drop their groceries nearby. Instinctively, he stood up and helped, and in that simple moment he realized that even on bad days he could still add something good to the world. Later, he found himself in a waiting room outside an office, hands shaking, heart racing. Every part of him wanted to run away, but he stayed seated. When he finally walked out of that building, holding a small folder and a quiet smile, he understood that he was not a completely different person. He was simply someone who had kept moving. That evening, on a park bench, he called someone he loved and shared the news, hearing pride in their voice instead of worry. As the sun went down and the city lights came on, he stood on a high balcony and looked over everything below. For the first time, he saw his life not as a series of failures, but as a long line of small steps that had brought him exactly here.